spreadsheet for a net savings of barely clearing $2,000, that doesn't give you a whole lot of wiggle room anywhere. You can consider that it might not pencil out enough. That's a concern for me. Looking at the water fund where we're replacing all of the meters and the transmitters and the retrofits and all that. The answers that I got back from some of my questions with Tammy at the city, I'm a little concerned with what we're putting down as a meter reading cost savings. The numbers that are expressed in your spreadsheet are only 50% of what we actually pay on an annual basis to read the meters. We're actually spending more than that according to the spread from what the information I've got. So I have a concern that we're not actually going to save anything in this project because we're not cutting labor, staff, or hours whatsoever. So I don't believe that to be a savings. And if that's the case, then this project goes negative really quick. So I'm a little concerned about this.
Yeah. So as Tammy did say, we talked about this, and the real savings are close to double what we are showing in our spreadsheet. So we're basically being very conservative and saying half, and the idea is that, some of the time that will be freed up, half the time that will be freed up, to be able to avoid other, other maintenance and repair work that, you're getting done from outside. So, and I'm sure,
we're not
collaborate.
Labor, staff, we're not saving any, moving it around the budget for the city to another department. Because if we're not getting staff that are doing the meter reading, it's just being moved from one bucket to another within the city. The city's not saving anything. It's redistributing the cost to employees, but this project's not saving us anything by using those numbers, in my opinion.
Well, so that's what I'm saying, that, you're getting some work done from outside, unrelated to the water meter project. This, when the staff is freed up to do, when they're freed up from the meter reading, they can do those tasks which are being done from outside, which are getting done from outside, which will save money.
I guess then, Tammy, I'm going to need an accounting of what we currently spend on outside contractors that we can do in-house that we can't because we have these two members that are of our team that are doing meter reading all the time to justify this.
So meter reading.
Last few years that show us that that's actually accurate.
So when we are saying outside contractors, it's not just in the water. This could be something with the parks. It could be streets. It could be some general maintenance that our guys just don't have time to do at some point.
Have we been contracting that out currently for that work, or is it just going undone?
There is some that's getting contracted out. And then there's the being proactive with maintenance instead of reactive with maintenance when we're freeing up, those man hours.
That are currently doing the meter reading, what is their background and how does it apply to this other work that they want to do?
So
Plumbers, jack of all trades, what kind of background do we have with the gentlemen that do that or ladies that do this work?
okay, so our meter readers are made up of most of our public works. So our maintenance workers are the ones that go out there and do the meter read. And all of our guys are pretty much spread across all the departments. So what happens on meter read currently is every other month, for 2 to 3 days, 2 guys go out and read 2 different routes. And then the next 2 days, 2 other guys go out and read the routes. And then the next week it's rotated again. So it's done through a combination of people, but they're all our maintenance workers, so they're skilled in all areas.
Okay, so our maintenance costs are going up then.
Our maintenance costs are going up.
Well, your associating everything that, oh, I guess the meter reading you're thinking is a savings. I don't see us saving money in this regard for this number, but that might be a difference of opinion on my part. I don't know, but I don't see this as saving us any money. See what else I had. Looking at some of the prices when I was looking at the breakdown, I guess I didn't see any numbers before. I don't recall the numbers. Looking at the ball field lighting, who is currently using our ball fields right now at the community center? I don't understand us to have any softball leagues right now. Is that true? I know
Well,
we don't have any right now
we don't this year because of COVID, but the last 2 years we have had baseball out there, the adult co-ed league, the Escalon Youth Outlaws, or now Cougar Juniors, I believe, rent the fields, use the lights. We use it for flag football, for practice, baseball practice.
How, does baseball practice need lights?
At some time during the season, we use the lights for baseball.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how much we're using the field for the roughly $475,000 to replace lights. I'm trying to figure out the payback on that. It seems expensive right now for the amount of money that we're all spending on everything. I can see some energy savings by going to LED and whatnot, but I'm trying to figure out how we justify $475 plus whatever Engie's going to charge us for their percentage of that project. Is definitely going to roll up to $500,000 for lights at a ball field. What's the life expectancy of what we currently have, and how much does it cost to run? If we had the solar and kept those lights and bypassed that $500,000, what does that look like? Something for everybody to think about, in my opinion.
So I will say that we have lots of complaints on our ball field lighting. Those lights have been out there for, I want to say, 20 plus years. And they're hard to get replacements for, to get maintained. There's issues with the electrical, and they are lights that when you shut them off, if you turn them right back on, there's a delay. So people often turn them back on not knowing that. We currently have to pay staff to go out, turn the lights on, turn the lights off. So what's being proposed would be a more automated system where we could do timers.
You can do it from a remote, you can do it from your cell phone, basically. You'll be able to schedule these lights. You don't have to send anyone. This will be remote controlled. And the real reason for doing the ball field lighting is really the energy savings are not going to pay for the ball field lighting. They never do. It's very expensive. It's more because the lights are old, and it's more because every time you have to change a light, you have to get a scissor lift, and it's just, everything has a light, and the life of these lights is done, and that's, so that's the reason you're replacing them. I wouldn't, like you said, you can definitely size the solar project bigger and not do the lighting, but it's not an energy efficient project. It's 25 years old lighting, so that's the reason to do it. And that's part of what we are trying to do in this project with mechanical and other stuff, is to replace your older equipment, not necessarily just for lighting, just for energy savings purposes.
Okay. Can I get a better explanation of the annual water meter software service cost? Over 20 years, $120,000 on an escalator. I've dealt with some software here and there. I'm just trying to understand how it's costing us basically $20,000 every year and up for 20 years. What are we getting for $20,000?
We have Kathy Richards from Badger Meter. This will be a direct contract between, the city and Badger, who are the meter manufacturer, if your council approves the project. So think she's on the line. I'm going to ask her to respond to this.
Okay.
Hi, this is Kathy Richards with Badger Meter. I'm the representative who's been working with the city and supplying the meter bodies with Matt in the field. And what you're discussing is basically the software or network as a service. When you install a meter and a transmitter, you're getting a total package. It includes the software for the management of the city that's going to allow you to have access to information on a very timely basis regarding your distribution system and improved customer service. You're going to get all the software updates. There are a lot of offsets. You're not going to have to purchase any network equipment to manage all of this data on your own. So we do everything. Network as a service, plug and play. Everything's in the cloud, everything's hosted, all software updates. I've been selling and supporting network systems now for a little over 20 years. And what I have seen is that a lot of systems have come, and then much like your older cell phones, the technology comes and goes. With this solution, you're all in for network as a service, guaranteed everything, software updates, service support, warranty, cell coverage, 100% network and software as a service. Does that help to explain some of the offsets?
I see where you're getting it. I'm just baffled by how much it costs for software on an annual basis, I guess.
So I believe that what we do is we've, I'm sorry, am I interrupting someone?
What's the maintenance an all-inclusive system?
I do want to add that Tammy expressed, her concerns about the price, and Kathy was able to reduce it by, 30%. So I think over 30%. So I just wanted to add that this has been reduced, and you're already paying maybe 3,000 to 4,000. So the additional will be around 17,000. Kathy, can you talk a little bit about the features that the benefits that the city has, like because of the software, the leak detection and everything else?
Sure. So basically the meters themselves act like almost like a cell phone. They're using commercially available cell towers. And as Ashu was mentioning, the standard price for this service is 89 cents per meter per month for the cell service, for the software, for the customer web portal, etc. After the city had expressed some concerns, I went back and discussed some things with management at Badger, and we were able to negotiate that price down to 65 cents per meter per month. When you look at the cost of meter reading and you look at the cost of all of the reading equipment, there's no reading equipment to purchase, and all of the other offsets, and for that price you're going to get 15-minute interval data on every meter in your system, up to 4 times a day, comes back to you. All you need is a login and a password. So as you can see with these COVID challenge times, if you had a computer and a network and a login and a password and you had internet access, you'd be able to look at leaks, backflows, stuck meters, usage on inactive meters, which is often a revenue source that goes undetected, where a vacant house, someone moves in and doesn't sign up for service. People calling to get a final read. You don't have to roll a truck to go out and get a final read on, they're calling to close out their bill. You don't have to roll a truck. Just log into the internet and pull a read off the system and get the customer their final bill. You're able to, Ashu had mentioned leaks. The system does detect leaks, and it will notify you and notify the customer if they have a leak. So you have those soft costs of improved water management efficiency, really great reporting, and ability to create your state reports with a couple clicks of a button. A lot of things that just really save a lot of time, money, effort, give you a lot of information up front to help give you the ability to manage your system, the data you need to manage your system on a day-to-day basis.
The pricing that's on here with the escalators, the second half of the contract, are those numbers set in stone, or do you have escalators that can possibly raise those numbers up?
The contract is firm for the first 10 years, and then I believe Ashu put in an escalator for the second 10-year term, but you have the ability to negotiate that, and I believe that it is negotiable. I believe that he was being conservative and wanting to make sure that he was not understating, but we are firm for the first 10 years, and so far that's all I've negotiated, but we could go further than that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I did want to mention also that price also includes a customer web portal and smartphone app, so that the customers themselves can have access to their own data and actually get a text alert or an email if the system detects that they have a leak on their side of the property.
So, with this support, with the software support, does that include, the system goes down, what's the response time? Is there set stuff in the contract that says within X number of hours or days or weeks, what's the response time if something breaks or
Sure.
drops? How do we know if a meter is not working? Is that all included in this kind of software package kind of set up for us?
Yes and yes. Part of the advantage of using a commercially available cell tower is that they're regulated by the FCC. And as a matter of fact, the state of California recently mandated cell phone providers to create a 72-hour backup battery for all cell towers, so if the towers go down. So basically, you're not going to lose any data. Should we have a break in network coverage, the meters themselves have 42 days of interval data, and the system will backfill historically. But you do have a guaranteed of network coverage and a guarantee of network service, and you are guaranteed to get your meter reads, all inclusive.
Well,
The second part of your question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I missed the second question.
Oh, sorry. So does the system recognize if a meter goes offline to let us know as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's on the home screen. So basically, and I'm going to use the city of Merced as an example. They've got about 25,000 of these in their system currently. And basically, when they come in the morning, they just peek at the home screen and they look and see, is there anything that's not reporting in? If it hasn't reported in, how long has it been? Do we have any reverse flows? Do we have any potential leaks? If so, how large are they and how long have the leaks been going on? So it helps direct your resources so that you're focused in on what areas of maintenance to help prioritize your maintenance and your staffing. You'll know within 12 hours if a meter is offline. And then there's certain steps and protocols that we go through training to help figure out, is it a network issue or is there something going on with the radio or the endpoint? And what do you do? So that's all part of the coverage and the training.
What constitutes we'll say the alert, there's a leak on a property? Is it just a large amount of water consumption in a short period of time or something? I'm just thinking.
Actually, what we do.
Well, other people have pools, and I know I haven't done it with mine, but other people drain it halfway and then drop another 6,000 to 10,000 gallons at one time into a pool. I'm just curious, does that constitute a potential leak threat that'll get alerted to the city or something?
So the first leak alert, the basic threshold, and I'm going to speak in residential terms, is 1 gallon of water every hour for 24 hours straight. So you can imagine in a 24-hour window, you should have a 1-hour window where there's no usage, where the meter is quiet. We can't find that 1-hour window. We're going to flag it as a potential leak, potential being the operative word. As far as someone who's using a large amount of water, for example, they drain their pool and then fill it back up, you're going to get alerted that there's a high consumption alert, and then it's up to you to basically, it's, again, information to help you with the management of your system. There's a high consumption alert. You have a customer who's using a lot more water than what they traditionally do, so let's say they only use that water in a 12-hour period. It wouldn't trigger the leak alert, but it would trigger the high consumption alert.
All right, Ed and Walt and Jeff, I think I've talked long enough. I probably have more questions, but jump in, please.
If you don't mind, Councilman, I would like to address something you had mentioned in passing about the general fund net savings being very low. And they're low because, you're right, they are low, but they're low because, we're doing projects here which are more capital in nature, like I explained before, and not energy savings. There's ionizers for COVID, um, you know, for killing COVID germs. There's no savings for that. There's, electric vehicle chargers at City Hall. There's no savings in there. There's mechanical equipment that's 30 years old, 28 years old. There's the savings don't pay for mechanical, and same for bulky lighting. So yes, we can get rid of some of these things, and the general fund would look better. But then again, most people who do these projects with us like to do a comprehensive project here, where some of the savings from the other projects are paying for, items that capital projects that you want to do, but you don't have funding for. Back in 2015, we were still trying to, when we met the council for the first time, we were still trying to replace the library units, and they were 25 years old at that time. And, now they're close to 30 years old, and a life of a package is actually 15 years as per the action. So your staff has done a tremendous job of keeping these units going, but there comes a time when you have to do it.
I agree, at the end of life, we have to take care of projects. I'm not debating that. I'm just asking to make sure we're spending money we need to and not where we don't.
Sure.
Trying to decipher between need and want.
Okay, Dave, if you want to take a break, we can go over to Councilman Merkin and see what he has to say.
Well, I heard a lot that I like about this project. Can somebody tell me, I know our ball field lights are probably getting close to the end of their life. Are there any state mandates that say we have to go LED on these things if we replace them?
No, there is no state mandate that mandates you to go to LED. You could replace them with the same halogen lamps, or metal halide. But and Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're replacing the light, you don't have to worry about Title 24. I mean, if you install new lamps, install new poles, you'll have to go with LEDs because of Title 24 requirements. But I think if you're replacing the lamp, you get grandfathered in. So technically, you don't have to, you don't have to switch them over to LED. But there is really absolutely no reason not to do that if you were replacing. Go ahead, Rosen.
That would be a cost saving.
And I just want to add with LEDs is that the company that would be providing them provides a 25-year warranty. So if the lights ever go out, they handle it. So you avoid all the costs related to getting lift out there and trying to access the lights and trying to do any maintenance on them.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, I guess my next question then is, we're looking at this project to become more efficient and cut costs. What impact is this going to have on the citizens of Escalon and the bills that they pay?
Bingo.
There is not going to be any cost or anything that's going to impact them. So the water meter project is something that's already in the rates and was scheduled to be done. So that's already in there. It could technically lower the cost for the field rentals and the lights because using the LEDs, saving the electricity, and not having the replacement cost in there for 25 years.
But we're not looking at a cost reduction for our citizens anywhere.
Well, all these projects are being funded by, instead of paying PG&E on your utility bill, you're basically going to be paying, upgrading your equipment and paying the finance company part of that, and part of that will be saved, you know. So, yeah, it's not saving directly, but if the city is being more efficient, I'm sure, ultimately the benefit does percolate down to the citizens.
Okay, yeah, my concern there, rent in Escalon is outrageous, and our energy costs are outrageous thanks to PG&E, and I don't want the city to be a part of that. I mean, we have people out there on low income, people that are working, and I don't want to have any more impact on them as possible. People are struggling, and I don't want to be part of that. Thank you.
No, that's exactly correct. So you're ensuring that, you're not going to be paying PG&E anymore. We are going to avoid in the facilities that we have solar, the proposing solar, pretty much 95% of the electricity costs. So you are reducing the dependence on drastically on PG&E. And again, making the city much more efficient, and we are, instead of borrowing, instead of doing all these replacements. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked about mechanical and all that. When you do these projects as a comprehensive instead of one-off, there are many, efficiencies. But when air conditioning breaks, it breaks in the peak of summer, then you just replace with what's available off the, at whatever location. And if it's not the most efficient, and it's probably going to be very expensive to do it. So when you're doing everything in a planned manner, you see you see the benefit of economies of scale.
Okay.
So
Next time, if we do this project, the next time PG&E gets a 6.5% rate increase, that's not going to affect us.
Correct. That's not going to affect you. It's going to affect 5% of your bill instead of 100% of your bill. So yeah, it'll have a very minor effect. You cannot disconnect from PG&E. So
unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
okay. Yep.
is not, sorry, Tammy is going to speak.
yeah, I was just gonna say the projects will enhance items for our residents. So if we move forward with the solar projects, that gives some covered parking at the community center, at the library. If we upgrade the lights, that's a benefit to our recreation programs. The library, replacing those HVAC, again, is where residents are. And this year we've struggled. Fortunately, they haven't been open the whole time, so we've been able to manage sometimes with not all the units running.
Okay, I'm just concerned because we're doing a lot. This doesn't even address the wastewater treatment plant as far as its upgrade out there, and I'm a little nervous about what it may do to the individual ratepayer here in Escalon. All this stuff together.
So right now, what's being presented, there's no additional that would be passed down to the residents.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have a question on the ball field?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of revenue are we bringing in? I'm assuming we're charging softball, we're charging the small pop Warner team and the various people that use it. What's an average amount of revenue that we've been bringing in on an annual basis for those ball field lights? Do you have any idea?
Well, so the adult softball is the teams pay, so it's not broken down by the lights, as in regards to a revenue for lights. For the Pop Warner youth football, and I want to say it's approximately $2,500 a year. I can't really say for sure, but that's my rough estimate.
Okay, so we got.
But
softball,
that's
obviously-
directly to the lights.
Right, and adult softball, obviously, we take a portion of that and help pay for the bill, I'm assuming, in some form.
Correct.
Who else is in the fields then, during light? You said, youth baseball?
Youth baseball, we turn on the lights for flag football practice, soccer practice.
The reason I'm asking is if you take the 25-year warranty with the lights we're putting in, it's gonna cost us with this program just shy of $19,000 a year for upgrading the lights. But I'm just trying to figure out currently if we can cover the cost of the electricity. Are we gonna get anywhere near that $18.9 thousand in any kind of a revenue base? I don't see these programs giving us that kind of revenue base. I know we need to replace them because they're getting old, but are we giving that to our community at that point? For the money we're paying? It's an expensive upgrade for, as we continue to raise the adult softball co-ed and stuff, it's getting tough to get people to come play.
Well, actually, the last few years, we've had strong adult baseball. I'm sorry, softball. So we've actually been very strong the last couple of years, and then this year, of course, with COVID, it changed it. But we also have others that are interested in renting the field, and based on what the lighting fee is, sometimes they're not interested in it. So my anticipation is that the LED lighting, we would be able to lower the lighting fees at some extent.
That's a revenue negative at that point then, okay.
Okay, Councilman Merkin, any other questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Legero.
Thank you. I'll start off by saying I'm skeptical of the magnitude of the project. It's an enormous expense, and it kind of touches back on what Dave had said, that how much of this is a need versus how much of this is a want, and how much are we willing to bite off to move forward with these projects. My concern is not realizing those cost savings. How are we going to fund some of this? Seems to me if we took this in smaller bites, prioritize the projects, and then look for funding sources like grants and other monies that are out there for individual projects, it's more manageable and at a dollar amount that we could more readily absorb if we didn't realize some of these savings. So I think that I have to do some more looking into the presentation and the individual projects to see which ones are really going to have the greatest impact on the community. And I certainly echo Councilmember Merkin that absolutely do not want to pass on additional costs, particularly now to the ratepayers and to the members of the community that may be asked to fund some of these projects. I'm just not sold that that's not going to happen. And again, going back to, this was a facilities review to get an idea of where we could find some efficiencies, what were the needs. So I really think we need to refocus on the individual projects and see what is an absolute need now and how can we move forward on the needs. I still think the wastewater treatment plant is an area that we need to get more information on to start moving forward on some issues out there. And if we commit to this type of project and the dollars that will be committed here, I would just wonder how that impacts our ability to do what we need to do at the wastewater treatment plant. So I don't know that there's a lot of questions in there at this point. It's mostly just my observations and my feelings on it. So thanks.
I don't know if Tammy wants to address something, but I can talk a little bit about this. So one, there is, the way the program is structured, it does not negatively impact any of your any of the communities, and we are guaranteeing the savings. There's a hard guarantee on the savings. It's in the contract. So if you don't achieve the savings, we will write you a check for the difference. And so that's one assurance that you have. And and we are a reputable company. We've been in business for 185 years. So, and it's not like we're gonna somehow go away in the next 20 years, and we have a 20-year guarantee in place to match the financing. So as far as the wastewater treatment plant, we are working on that. We will be bringing that to the council probably in a couple of months. The funding, like this, that program is supposed to be funded out of savings. We were able to arrange the financing for this project, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to arrange the financing for that project. As far as, does this project, somehow impact your ability to do the wastewater treatment project? The rating agencies, when they look at energy projects which are funded out of savings and are, done by a reputable company, they do not count this against your credit limit. And I have a tremendous amount of experience in working with, Fitch and Standard & Poor's and Moody's on that. So be happy to talk more about that, but this will not impact your ability to borrow more money for your wastewater treatment plant project.
I appreciate that, and it's not a commentary on your company or business or anything. It's
I
just
understand that.
These are just the concerns, and one of the things is, we're used to, there's a project that goes out for RFP, we get the bids back, and then we figure out the funding source, and we go from there. So here, we have your company, one company, just kind of overseeing all of these projects. And if we were to go out to bid as individual projects, it would lend a layer of comfort, I think, that we have gone out to bid, we've gotten, the bids in, and now we something to compare it to. I don't know that we necessarily have that under the process as it's been presented here.
Correct. So the city did follow a process. They did do a competitive, solicitation in November of last year, and we were selected out of 6 or 7 companies on a competitive basis. Mm-hmm. The right, we developed the project after that, and that's how we always do. But that's, imagine it's taken us 6 months. I think we got approval from the council in March, and here we are in December. It's taken us 6 months to develop this project, to put it all together. The reason companies like ours are successful is because not that you don't have the expertise to do these projects yourself. Some of these projects like HVAC, and but you don't have the time, and you don't have a mechanism. How will you fund? There are no grants available, by the way, for doing HVAC and lighting and solar anymore. So, the problem comes in, if, where do you get the funding for? So we basically create, and there's the legislature has enacted legislation called Government Code 4217 so that companies like us can do these projects on a negotiated basis. And the reason for that is these kind of projects will not get done. I mean, if CAS could have done it, I hate to say it, but, they've been thinking about replacing the library HVAC since I started calling on the city 6 years ago, and at that time it was 24 years old. And the question is, where do you get the funding for doing something like that? Where is the money going to come from? It has to come out of their budget. But this way, what we're doing is we're packaging the whole thing, getting it financed, we're guaranteeing the solution will be less than the savings. And it takes time and effort to put it together. We have 5 people who've been working on this, not exclusively, for the last 6 months. I'm going to keep quiet. I think Penny was going to say something.
You were fine. But, I mean, a lot of the same points that he's saying, we did come to the council in October of 2019 and asked for authorization to put out our request for proposal on the infrastructure modernization and utility savings program. So this was part of the plan when we put this out there. As you indicated, there's several of these projects that were on the table back in 2015. Staff does not have time nor some of the experience to move forward on these projects. There's the potential that many of them would require an outside source to assist us in these projects. So this was the way to bundle these projects and have access to some funding and actually pay for the projects through savings.
Right. And going out to an RFP to examine the needs and how this would look is one thing, but actually committing the money to go forward with the projects as a bundle, as a pack, that's a different assessment that we have to make as a council. So, the fact that we went out to RFP and NG put this
under your
proposal together, then now we're at that point where we've got their proposal and look at all the potential dangers, all the potential benefits to it. So that's where I feel like we're at now. I feel like we all need to ask our questions, and we need to be able to get comfortable with this. And hopefully there's members of the community that are listening in that want to participate and have their own questions to help us vision.
Okay, well, I'm one of those guys that'd like to add something. I've listened to everything this evening, and all good questions and all good responses. I'm going to give you guys kind of a bottom line. For me, what's critical here is what Walt Merkin touched on and Jeff echoed and Dave alluded to, which is this project isn't the problem. It's whether or not we can afford it without impacting the community at a rate that's uncomfortable. And that's kind of the bottom line here. There's a lot of things about this project that I'm a little more familiar with because of my background, because I'm a contractor. So there's a lot of this stuff. I know what you're doing. I know how you're doing and all that. That's fine. In terms of packaging, I understand now why packaging makes more sense than subtracting or subcontracting out, although I may be a little argumentative about that. I'm not sure if that's totally accurate, but I think you might have a point in terms of financing. Where would you get financing for just the air conditioning units at the library and so forth and so on? But there may be grants in those areas. I don't know. I'm not an expert at this stuff. But for me, if I could be proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that this commitment to this type of project is not going to impact the financial comfort that this community now enjoys, not that we're enjoying a lot of it lately, but not to impact them. I think that would be important to me in a way that would decide whether or not I could go forward. The 2.55 interest rate seems a little high for me too, by the way. I think that seems a little steep for a 20-year loan, the kind of money we're borrowing. There's got to be ways and we can go through this thing and look at some things and make some adjustments. I think this quote is a reasonable quote, but at the same time, I think there's some of that quote can be adjusted. For example, you mentioned on the software there's a 20% reduction of something like that it was, and then 20, was it 20? Oh, 30%, which brings down, what, $6,000 off $20,000 a year, which makes it $14,000 a year for software. Thus for the upgrade on an annual basis. That to me seems a little steep. I'm going to have to agree with David Jones on that one.
Sorry for interrupting, sir, but that price has already been reduced. So what you're seeing is the reduced price. There is no further reduction.
You're reducing it down to what, 20,000? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's still too high. At any rate,
19. Yeah.
At any rate, I think if we could come together and go over this and be assured of the impact and how it's going to affect the community, we could all agree on that. We might be able to move forward. I don't know. But like Councilman Legero stated, it's a lot to digest. And I'm not sure, like Councilman Bellinger said, need versus necessity. Again, we're a small community of about 7,500 people. This is a large project for us. I know it may be a situation where you feel like, man, what's taking so long? Well, what's taking so long is we are a small community, and we don't want to put ourselves in jeopardy of being in debt so bad that our lives in this community are horrible. So bear with us. I think we're trying to get to that point where we can adjust and agree to something with this, but I think we just need a little more information. But if I'm incorrect here, council members, tell me. I would like to see a cost breakdown, by the way, itemized, very transparent, so we can see where all this breaks down to, so we know where everything goes. I don't think I've seen a cost breakdown.
So we are the only company that I know of who's actually giving you the breakdown and telling you how much money we're making. You know, companies don't do that. We wanted to be completely transparent with you, and we sent you the complete breakdown of all our costs, not only what we are buying, but how much money we are making on top. And, you know, so, and we've done more projects in the valley than anybody else. We do have a track record.
I appreciate all that.
Yeah.
But my bottom line is, you're saying you're transparent. I'm still trying to find out. I'd like to see a spreadsheet showing me every bit of this project broken down so we can look at it and see where it is. If we have to not do one of these things, we can cut one of them out. It's hard at this rate because your numbers aren't really, I mean, I'm looking at them. I can't follow all this.
Okay, I understand. You have a point. I can definitely send you that.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay. I will, I gave you my cost, but it doesn't tell you, what our price, if you take the air conditioning out, how much will that be?
Well, see,
yeah.
I'm a contractor. I deal with subcontractors all the time. And I understand how it works, and I know the transparency. In a lot of their cases, they don't want to be transparent. For me, when somebody doesn't want to be transparent, it makes me nervous. When I give estimates on things I do, I'm transparent, and I figure, hey, it is what it is, and if it isn't, so what? And that's just how I feel about this type of situation. I think this council needs to be comfortable with what they're getting and how much it's costing, what areas. And if we can get that, I think we might get it closer to an answer, yes or no, than we would be if we didn't have it.
Okay, I will send it over,
and by the way, I'd like that broken down completely. I don't want a portion, I want it all. I want everything that's on the books here that we're trying to do. I want it all. And I want it all up to the 20 years we're doing it.
Well, our project price is, somewhere around 5.7 million. I'll break it out so that you know how much you're spending for HVAC at the library, how much is the PD, how much is the ionizer,
Perfect.
How much is the solar at each location. Yeah, I'll break that 5.7 million.
That would be excellent.
Absolutely. I'll have it to you by Wednesday.
That would be excellent. And I appreciate your patience with us. I've been through these. Hey, listen, I have customers who like to kill me sometimes. But hey, I deal with this. I know what you're dealing with. I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to be insulting. I just think it's a matter we can do. We're representing 7,500 people. We all feel obligated to give them the best possible bang for the buck they can get. And if we didn't do that, I don't think any of us could sleep at night. And that's kind of why things take so long here in the little town of Escalon.
Oh, no, I completely understand. It's a small community, and this is a big project. And we've implemented projects, the city of Mendota, the city of Fireball, for, up and down the state. City of Lemoore has done $20 million worth of work. What I'm saying is we've done similar sized projects for other smaller communities.
Sure.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
We're not doubting your honesty or your credibility. What we wanted is more information.
Absolutely. And, that's the philosophy that I have, that I will provide you every information that you ask for. So I will provide you that. And again, I want to say that this project will not impact the community in a negative way financially. There are a lot of positive impacts that Annie outlined. One thing we haven't talked about, and it should be call it a minor thing, but we do, for every city that we work with, we do something for the community. And here, we're going to make a $25,000 donation to a nonprofit of your choice. That comes from our parents. When we were part of Chevron started that process. And when NG bought us, we are continuing that. We did it for City of Mendota. We gave it to a nonprofit for City of Fireball. We funded their PALS program, the Police Activities League. For City of Christine, I don't remember what we just completed a project for City of Christine. I'm not sure what we did with that, but for each city. So, but anyway, that's not something, a reason to buy this project. But I'm just saying that we care about the community, and we care that there is no way that this project will negatively affect the community. So and it's guaranteed.
Okay, listen, we appreciate all that honesty and upfront. That's great. Moving along here, is there anyone in the phone audience that would like to speak on this evening? Doesn't sound like there's a lot of people out there. I'll bring it back to the council. Gentlemen, is there any additional comments you'd like to make?
I've got a question there, Ed, sorry.
Go ahead.
When you come back with the breakdown, I'm looking at your project pricing with the breakdowns that you have that we're obviously looking to get more breakdown on. I'm not in construction. I dealt on the fringe of that, but you got post-construction services, warranty services. Can you break that down and what we're actually paying for that amount? Because I'm not sure what that entails. And then also startups and commissions. If you could expand on that, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, that would be descriptive. I'll send you a description of that.
Okay, that'd be appreciated. I'm not sure what that is, and I'd like to learn what that is before I ask any more questions on that.
Okay, well, there's Walt, do you have any more you'd like to add?
I don't have anything else. I thought I saw Gary Haskin on there. I'd kind of like to get his input.
Okay, well, if he's there, he's more than welcome to add. Tammy, are we able to access them?
Yeah, I see Gary on there.
Does Gary like to add something or ask a question or anything?
He is self-muted. Oh, there you go.
There I go. I had to have help finding the right button. These people have done this up and down the valley, and they're pretty much guaranteed revenue neutral. And I'm seeing a lot of projects getting done that haven't been done and probably won't be done until they totally fail, as in the air conditioning at the library, the lights. These projects are going to fail sooner or later because we just don't have the manpower to do it. And to begin with, they were guaranteeing a revenue neutral. So if we can get this stuff done, it doesn't cost the ratepayers anything that I've seen so far. I mean, Councilman Bellinger brought up some good questions that need to be answered. But if we can keep it revenue neutral, we can actually bring this city from the 1950s, maybe 2020, and that's a lot of our equipments and our systems are, pretty much that old. So, with a few more questions, I'm seeing this project overall good for the city. Take care of some things that need to be taken care of in a neutral, financially neutral manner.
I would concur with that. Some of these things, if we have to replace them individually, there's no way to get financing. that's going to be a drain on the general fund. It's going to be a hit to us.
Very good point. Gary, is that it?
Yes.
Okay, that's good, Gary. Is there anyone else out there that would like to add some kind of a comment or question? Sounds like somebody's trying to come aboard. Let's see who they got. It doesn't look like it. Caller 2, 4. Tammy, is there anyone else out there?
No.
Okay, let's bring it back to the council. Gentlemen, it's my understanding that we would probably like one final meeting. Is that accurate or am I inaccurate?
I'd say that's probably accurate, Ed, on my part.
Okay, how about you, Councilman Merkin?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, and Councilman Legero?
Yeah, we can get that information and take a look at it, have one more meeting, and then go from there.
The only thing I'm going to recommend, gentlemen, is we have it in person, not over the internet.
I concur.
Yeah, I can't, this is killing me. I hate these meetings like this. But anyway, if it's okay with you guys, I would like to recommend to staff with your acceptance that we have our next meeting face to face with the information we've asked for to access that information and come together with a decision one way or another. Is that reasonable, gentlemen?
Absolutely, and I'll be there in person. Our company requires us to wear a mask. That's the company policy.
That's fine.
To it, but yes, I'll be there in person, and I'm sure there'll be other members of our team there also. But I'll be there in person next week, Monday.
Very good. We'll have other questions for you, and the information that we've asked for this evening, if you could possibly get it to as quick as possible, so we can review it, and then be prepared on Monday, and then we'll see what happens.
So,
Councilmember, go ahead, Tammy. Tammy, go ahead.
yeah, just for clarification, we want to do a workshop prior to our meeting on the 5th at 6 o'clock, correct?
That sounds right. That sounds correct. Is there any objections, gentlemen? Not
No.
from us.
No objection.
Council members, is there any objections?
No.
No.
Okay, so we'll tentatively plan for Monday, 6 o'clock, workshop before our council meeting. We'll hold it at the council itself, not over the internet. And with the information we have, we'll be able to, I hope, come up with a decision, or at least, if we don't, we'll know why. I mean, we'll be able to answer questions on our side as well as they'll answer theirs. Okay? Is that acceptable, gentlemen?
Yes.
Walt, is that okay with you?
Yes, that's fine.
Mr. Bellinger?
Yes, sir. That'll work for me.
Mr. Legero?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we have a consensus, Tammy. It sounds like that's where we're heading. Do you have the information you want me to go beyond I've done this evening, or are we done with this meeting?
We are done. One question. If we meet live on the 5th, are we going to open to the public?
I would recommend that we do. It should be an open meeting.
Okay. We'll have to.
All right, gentlemen, thank everyone for their attending and input. Thank you, staff, but this meeting is coming to an end.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Bye.
I am. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Yes, I am. Yes, I will do that. You're welcome. Good night.